Seton built a small cabin in the woods near the Don River, which is not too far away, where he retreated after school on weekends to collect shells and feathers and live Robinson Crusoe type life. He later wrote, "To a small boy I was then, it was the wild and the distant country to me was paradise." So he was a really big naturalist. He just was really connected. He enrolled in Ontario College and art at 19, won the college's gold medal. He went to study in England, where he spent many days at Natural History Collection in the British Museum, visiting the London Zoo, and starving due to lack of money. Also, yeah, he really didn't make a lot, but he was really famous. Back in Canada, Seton began writing simple but moving stories about the adventures and personalities of animals he watched in the Don Valley. Silverspot was a wise old crow who taught the other crows in the valley tricks of keeping safe from armed men and horned owls. Seton observed other partridge, pretending to be injured, flapping along the ground, just out of reach of Reynard the fox, distracting her from the little chick, Red Ruff. So when he wrote his stories, he kind of humanized the animals, and that's, I think, what made them bestsellers.
Yeah.
In 1898, these two stories plus 6 others were published in Wild Animals I Have Known, the first of Seton's 40 books. It was a bestseller and was published in 15 foreign editions. Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Books were inspired by Seton's. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
It was actually inspired by E.T Seton.
The cartoon series.
Yeah. And also by, I don't know if you guys know who Theodore Roosevelt is. He was also a naturalist. He was a president.
US
Yeah, but he was also a huge naturalist. So E.T. Seton's writings and Roosevelt's writings kind of inspired the Jungle Book. He died on October 23rd, 1946, at the ripe old age of 86 at his ranch in New Mexico. Another thing a lot of people don't know about Seton is he was actually the founder of Boy Scouts of America. So
that's just a little bit of background about Mr. Seton, the guy that we came to check out today. Before we get out there, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about, hang on one second, about some of the biodiversity that we're going to be witnessing in the area today. And let's see, most animals have or will have had their young by the end of this month. Beavers, muskrats, striped skunks, raccoons, chipmunks, flying squirrels, long-tailed weasels, and mink will have litters in May. White-tailed deer give birth to 1 or 2 spotted fawns. Small rodents such as the meadow vole and insectivores such as the star-nosed mole and the northern short-haired shrew have at least 2 litters each year, and May typically represents the peak in rodent reproduction. So rodents, muskrat, all kinds of different stuff, mice, all of that, squirrels. They're right at the peak of their mating season, and squirrels can have litters up to 4 times a year, and every time they have a litter, they can have up to 4 kits. So in 1 year, 1 squirrel can give birth to 16 squirrels in 1 year. Busy little guys.
That's why if we've got 1 squirrel in the house, you've got a mess before you even know it.
Yeah. Let's see.
For sure.
And the reason that this is really important is that these small mammals play an important role in the food web as prey for many different predators, like the fox and the coyote, that are busy feeding their growing families. Young possums are getting large inside of their mother's pouch, so may climb onto her back for a more comfortable ride. Gray squirrels born earlier this year are becoming independent now. Migrant bats, like the hoary bat, return from their summer breeding grounds. So while we're out there today, if we see any evidence of any of this stuff, we're going to be pointing it out to you guys and showing you where it's at and everything. The best thing to do as we're moving along is try and keep together as a group, stay as a tight group, because if you're too far back, then you might miss things that we're talking about and different demonstrations and things like that. So other than that, yeah, we're going to take a walk on the trail. If anybody has any issues, anything about blisters, or if you're getting tired or anything like that, then please feel free to let us know. Okay? Fantastic.
He's not sure what to make of this.
Yeah.
He's weary, but he's curious.
Don't forget there's a zoom on that camera, that's really good.
Oh yeah, I'm using it right now.
Yep.
Just wait till you see that video, Terry.
Alright, so this is the cedar. It's pretty easily identified by its scaly, I guess you can call them leaves. And this is actually one of my favorites because there's so many things that you can do with this tree. First of all, it's super high in vitamin C. And actually well, not a funny story, but
You boil it and make
an
it
interesting story about the cedar
Yeah,
is when colonists first came to North America, a lot of the time rats would get into their lemons and oranges, which was their only source of vitamin C, and they'd suffer from what's called scurvy. And scurvy is a really, really bad affliction. Your extremities start falling off, like your nose and your earlobes, and then you eventually die. So a lot of the time, if that happened, when they would land on the shores of Canada, well, it wasn't Canada at the time, North America, the natives saw right away what their affliction was and made a tea out of this. And within a few days, they started to get better. So that's really handy, and it's also a pretty pleasant tasting tea.
Medicinal value.
Yeah. So it's super high in vitamin C. Another cool thing about it is insects, like biting insects, like mosquitoes and black flies, absolutely hate this stuff. So you can actually crush it into a paste with just a little bit of water and like 2 rocks, and you can use it as a natural bug repellent. Also, look, you'll see a lot of pictures of the old voyageurs when they have like some of this like tucked in their hat or tucked in their boot. It wasn't for aesthetics, it was to get rid of the bugs. Another thing is, this tree is completely...
Skin disease.
Pardon?
Good for skin disease.
Skin disease?
Scurvy is not necessarily a skin
No,
disease.
scurvy.
Scurvy is it's basically if you have an insufficient amount of vitamin C. Vitamin C you get from fruits and things like that.
Deficiency of vitamin C.
Yeah. It puts back in the vitamin C that you're not getting.
So we have to apply it or how?
Oh no, you make a tea out of it.
Drink a tea.
Make a tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
And you
take
drink
it.
a tea out of it, and yeah, it's really, really good for you.
You boil
Edible.
it.
It is edible.
Yeah. You just basically need about the size of like $1 in your hand, like a coin in your hand. Basically need about that much, and that's good enough for a tea. And that'll give you like as much vitamin C as drinking a glass of orange juice or whatever.
Oh.
So
Yeah, super high in vitamin C.
What is the name?
Cedar.
Cedar.
Yeah.
C-E-D-A-R.
C-E-D-A-R.
Another cool thing, like I was saying, this tree is completely non-toxic. So I wouldn't suggest it, but what the natives used to do when they were starving in the wintertime, because this is an evergreen, so it stays green throughout the entire year, is they would strip the bark, and right between the exterior bark and the heartwood, there's like a soft stringy material called the cambium, and you can eat that, but it's really hard on your stomach. It doesn't really have a whole lot of nutrients, but if you're starving to death in the winter, it's better than dying. And another cool thing about it is it's really good for making shelters. Not only is it really flexible, but as you can see with these scales, if you pile them on top of each other, they almost work like shingles. So you can actually almost waterproof a debris shelter by using cedar boughs on top. And also, the boughs are very lofty, so it makes a really good mattress too. And if the whole thing's made out of mainly cedar, the bugs not going to want to go in there.
They're not going to bother you at all.
So you can use it for a shelter to put on your roof, to put on the floor for your bedding. You can make a tea out of it. And on top of that, the bugs really hate the smell of the stuff, so they stay right away from it. So it's actually a pretty handy tree.
It's food, it's tea, it's bug repellent, it's shelter building.
Green tea.
It is actually one of my most favorite trees, and it usually grows in abundance in Canada. So if, like, if you're in the wild, you see one cedar, you're probably going to see a bunch more. So.
Apple cider vinegar.
It also just smells really nice.
And most of the time when you find
when I
natural
make,
mosquito repellents,
Yes,
it's
yes.
made of
Is it a seed?
This is what they make it out of. Yeah.
This is a resident of Ontario.
Yes.
This is native for Ontario, yes.
It's really easy to identify.
So it's only
by
found in
this
forest,
kind of
mainly,
scaly
not in the road.
texture.
Yeah, it's mainly in forests, and you'll usually find it around a source of water.
Wow.
So this one right here is pretty easily to identify. It's actually always near a water source. Believe it or not, if you've ever seen a weeping willow, anyway, So this is what we know as a juvenile willow tree. They actually grow into like a tree the size of that. Believe it or not, this little shrub here. So yeah, this will actually grow into a tree almost that size eventually, if conditions are right. They're always near water sources, and they're really easy to identify by their bright red. And they're also really easy to spot because they're bright red. And the cool thing about this plant is you take the youngest growth that you can. You grab like maybe, I'd say 6 or 7 twigs like that, and you can put it in your tinny cup, and you boil it, and it actually contains acetylsalicylic acid, which is the main ingredient, or the active ingredient in aspirin. So if you're dealing with, inflammation or cramps or a headache or anything like that, this is like nature's aspirin, and that's actually what they used to make aspirin out of until they learned to synthesize it.
Aspirin tablet. Aspirin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you're dealing with
If you're ever out in the
inflammation, joint
woods
pain-
and you get an injury or something like that, or something starts hurting, you don't have any aspirin, you can take a couple of these twigs, boil it up in a cup, and drink it, and it'll give you the same properties as taking an aspirin.
Willow.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the juvenile willow. We will be crossing probably some
Major willow. Yeah.
yes, we will be crossing adult willows.
Yep.
Believe it or not, these will grow up to like almost the size of that tree. And you can also use the adult willow, but the juvenile stuff has more ASA in it.
And they only bloom about once every 3 years, and they are fully edible. You can eat the entire plant, but here in Ontario they're protected because it's our provincial flower, so it's protected. Yes.
State plug it out is prohibited.
Yeah.
State flower.
Yeah.
Not state. Provincial flower.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. These are younger trilliums here where the buds just haven't opened up yet. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Terry.
Yeah.
They can't harvest them because I know my mother actually took them for our cottage once and put them in her own garden.
Yeah.
Plug it out.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You just pull it up and pull it right out. Yeah.
No, if you wanted to actually, you can't do it. You can't. I know what I actually before. You could eat it yourself, but also you could actually find spots that are growing where they got more abundantly. You could take. I would put one in a pot.
Yeah.
Destroying it.
Yeah.
You can get that way, which is not really.
So you know what, the conservation guys don't care whether you're carrying them to put them in your garden or whatever. They just don't want you taking them out.
We used to cottage. We go off our own cottage and put them in the garden.
Yeah.
And we had white shrooms, not red ones.
Yeah. But these are trilliums here, and they come in yellow, they come in white, and they come in bright red like this. So yeah. Raspberries growing on it. That won't be coming until around August sometime. But right now, this is a raspberry plant. And what you can do is, even though there's no berries on the raspberry plant right now, you can pluck the leaves, take the leaves off, take it home and dry it out, and make a raspberry tea. And it tastes just like raspberries. It's very good and very high in vitamin C and very, very tasty. Yeah. Yeah.
We can eat this?
Yep.
Those you will find for sale in the garden center.
ऐसे plant का
Raspberry.
Yeah, so even though there's no berries, you can still pick the leaves and then dry out the leaves and make a really nice tea out of it.
जब खत्म कर दोगे ना तब taste आएगा. He's so scared right
It's
now.
an American toad.
Jump on you.
Don't worry, they don't bite or anything like that. They're totally harmless.
Just don't eat them.
Yeah. Not edible. Don't eat it. Yeah.
Looks like a stone.
Yeah. It's supposed to look like a stone for a reason.
Yeah. It's their camouflage, so that they can hide. Yeah, yeah. At this time of the year, that's why you got to be careful cutting your grass, because at this time of the year they're coming out of hibernation, and they basically hibernate just under the layer of the sod. So in the summertime, when you're coming out at this time of the year, you'll be cutting your grass, and these guys will come flying out of your lawnmower because they're basically just coming up.
It's also why you keep your grass about 4 inches high.
At first I thought it's a snake.
Yeah.
I got scared.
Yeah.
No, it's
Maybe a rattlesnake or...
No. It's an American toad. Totally harmless.
Snakes are there yet?
What's
Snakes,
that?
snakes also.
In Toronto, do you
Snakes are
find
starting to come up. Yep.
That's lunch for a snake.
Yeah.
That's lunch.
Yeah, this is lunch for birds
okay.
and for snakes and stuff like that at this time of the year. Yeah. And they'll get big. I've seen them the size of a dinner plate. So yeah.
This is a baby.
Yep, this is just a baby one. Yeah.
So this stuff is known as pitch.
Pitch.
Yeah, so it comes off of several different evergreen trees. This is the spruce tree. Over there you got the red pine. You'll probably be able to find it on almost any evergreen tree. And the cool stuff about this is not only is it a natural glue, so if you're trying to fashion something, yeah, you just heat it up with a lighter, but at the same time, it's very flammable.
Flammable, it'll
Yeah.
burn.
It burns.
Yeah. So if you're trying to start a fire, using a little bit of pitch will actually help your fire start faster, especially if you're dealing with damp conditions and stuff like that. But yeah, they also used to use this as a glue to make birch bark canoes and baskets. I've actually done it myself.
All right, science of that.
And it's usually bleeding out of the side of the tree. Right
Here is he.
Better example.
Oh, that's a good chunk. So yeah, that's a really more impressive chunk. Sometimes you can get it like that big, and you really don't need that much to start a fire. You could probably do it with this. But
fuel.
at the same time, you
for
can
campfire.
put this in a bag and carry it with you. You can actually boil it down and refine it and take all the twigs and stuff out of it, and it becomes a lot lighter. And yeah, so that's pitch.
Really bad for tents.
Yeah, if you set your tent up under an evergreen tree, a lot of the time, especially on hot days, it'll bleed off and then hit your tent, and it's like next to impossible to get off your tent. It's very sticky. It's basically like flammable glue.
This is another.
We'll get stuck to your hands.
Goes out of science center and then you can go to.
Burn you badly, so be careful when you're handling it. But yeah, you can see how I put the lighter to that a while ago, and it's still burning really, really well. And it'll continue to burn like that for a long time.
The tree is called as a pitch tree.
Yep, yep. So yeah, if you're ever trying to get a fire started, even if it's like raining in the middle of a big rainstorm and stuff like that, this stuff, put a light to it, it burns for a long time. So
And even if you grab your pine cones with a pitch in it.
yeah, exactly.
So these
Yeah.
have also this survival candle. They burn for a long time. I didn't make this one in particular, but they're really easy to make. And yeah, they use pitch and wax and sawdust to make these. Survival candle.
So if you put it into a Dixie cup like he's got there, you see the little blue cup? That's what it is. We just melted it down and put it into a little blue cup. And then from there you can carry it around in your pack, and if you ever need a fire, even in the middle of a big rainstorm or really strong winds or anything like that, it's really, really easy to get a fire. Yeah.
What plant is
This is garlic mustard.
this? Garlic mustard.
Yeah. Now take the leaf, crush up the leaf.
It smells like garlic. It's not garlic. It's
So what you want to do is just
You can really smell the garlic in it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you tear it up,
Yeah. Yeah. Now this is garlic mustard, and this is an invasive species. And invasive meaning it doesn't belong here. It was brought here from someone else. And it's not natural or native to this area. Yeah. So, but this is garlic mustard here. And as you can smell, it smells a lot like garlic. It actually tastes a lot like garlic too. But with garlic mustard, you can literally just pluck it and eat it if you wanted to. What I like with garlic mustard is when I'm out camping and stuff like that, I know a lot of people that bring along like a big spice container and stuff like that with them all the time. You can eliminate 90% of that if you just gather up your spices in the outdoors. So you can like cook fish or whatever and use this for your seasoning, or you can just throw it into your salad to kind of spruce up the taste of your salad. You can use it for a lot of different things. And it's an invasive plant, like I say, so feel free to pick as much as you want and take it home and eat it. But yeah, it's fully edible. And this is usually, if you find a good stand of this in the early spring, if you sit back and you watch that area for a while, deer absolutely love the taste of this stuff. So deer will eat it like crazy. So if you find a big patch of it and you sit back for a while and you watch, chances are there's going to be a deer that's going to come through the area that's going to be eating it. So, yeah.
The city would have to have and maintain a free public archery range in order to keep the land. And if they, for whatever reason, didn't do that, it automatically would go to his next successor. And they would lose the entire park. So it's actually kind of cool. It was like his way of giving back to the community and, you know, like giving people the opportunity to learn archery. He was a pretty avid archer himself. But if at any point in time they like shut this down, whoever his next successor was, this entire park would be gone.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool of him. Way to give back to the public.
And this is the only archery range that you will find in all of Toronto. And that's probably one of the very few you'll find in all of Southern Ontario.
And it's free.
Yep. Absolutely free for people to come out and use anytime.
There's
As
no
you can see
crosswalk.
over here, there's people over there going and target shooting right now, so I'd take you in there, but it's awfully muddy right now. I don't want anybody to do that. Listen. One gland that you should definitely try and be aware of is this one right here.
And avoid.
And this,
Avoid.
don't touch this.
Don't touch.
Don't ever touch this. This plant, don't touch this. This is stinging nettle.
Huh?
The reason that I can touch it and it doesn't bother me is because over the years I built up an immunity to it.
Okay.
I can touch it and it won't bother me at all. But if you touch this stuff, it's got these fine little hairs. If you take a look on the side here, see those little hairs that are on the side? Those little hairs will end up breaking off and sticking into your fingers, sticking into your skin, and it'll give you like a really, really bad rash.
Okay.
Really bad rash. It's almost like poison ivy. Yeah, almost like poison ivy. Yeah. So if you see something that looks like this, try and stay away from it. This is stinging nettle. The good thing about stinging nettle is that if you do harvest it, you can wear gloves and you can harvest it. And if you boil it, you can end up eating it. Once you boil it, it's fully edible. But like this, it'll end up burning your mouth, it'll burn your lips and everything else. It'll burn your hands if you try and touch it right. So, yeah. But this is stinging nettle. Right here. And you'll find it all over the place in the summertime. And there's two types of nettle. There's stinging nettle and then there's wood nettle. And both of them actually sting you. They'll give you a rash and stuff like that. But stinging nettle you usually find up on higher ground. And wood nettle you usually find like in the forest and stuff like that. So,
Wood nettle prefers like half shade during the day,
yeah.
while stinging nettle likes more of a full spectrum of light.
Yeah.
And also in a lot of like healthcare communities, it's known as a superfood because it's really full of all kinds of nutrients and vitamins and minerals.
Yeah.
But yeah, use gloves, boil it first.
Yeah.
Actually, in the UK, it's kind of crazy. They have a contest of it's a stinging nettle eating contest without like raw.
Yeah.
Like these crazy Scots and
Yeah.
Irish and English guys, they just like mow it down and really screw up their esophagus. I don't know why they do it.
That's basically to see who can eat the biggest amount of it, even though it's burning your hands and burning your lips and burning your mouth and burning your throat. They have a contest to see who can eat the most of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tough guy.
Adventurous.
Yeah.
It's not poisonous, is it?
It's not poisonous, no, but it does. It's the touch of it. It'll give you like a rash.
Yeah, the little hairs on it almost act like tiny hypodermic needles
Yeah.
that kind of
Big
poke
heading.
you, and then it like gives you like a really bad rash, almost like poison ivy or poison oak would.
Yeah.
But poison ivy and poison oak, they have an oil that does that to you. Well, this uses like little needles.
They're more of an acid burn, are they?
But yeah, as long as you boil it, it's totally fine. It's actually really good for you. It's the flavor of it is basically just green.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's basically just like a green flavor. It's nothing too. It's like it's not disgusting and it's not delicious. It's just food.
Does anyone want to volunteer to see what it feels like if you touch it?
No.
It gets very, very itchy. That's all that it is. It just gets really, really itchy. It's almost like a really bad mosquito bite. Yeah.
If you look on the bottom of the leaf, you can see those little hairs.
Yes.
Hand.
And all those hairs poke into your skin and they break off and then it gives you a rash. And it usually lasts for about a day, the rash. Yeah.
Once again, I've also been in the outdoors a long time, so I can touch it.
Yeah.
Because I built an immunity.
Yeah. Like I can do that with stinging nettle, I can do that with poison ivy, I can do that with a lot of different plants that would give people rashes and stuff like that. It doesn't bother me at all because I've worked with it a million times and I've handled it a million times. You build up an immunity to it over time, but
it takes years.
It takes years for that to happen before you finally build up an immunity to it. So. This is the dandelion. This is the dandelion here. Most people just see them as weeds that grow up on your front lawn. But the dandelion is part of the dock family. And this is what the leaves look like. They're serrated like this. And dandelion, as I say, is it's from the dock family, and there's several different types of dock, and they're all fully edible. You can eat them pretty much at any time. So if you're making a salad, you could take these flower heads off and put them in your salad, and now you got lots of bright color in your salad, and actually it looks really nice. But they're fully edible, and they come from the dock family. And dandelions are great for a lot of different things. You can eat them. You can make them into a tea. You can eat them raw in a salad, or you can take them and make wine from dandelions.
Wine.
Yeah, you can make dandelion wine. And it's really good, really high in vitamin C, really good for you and everything else. But the reason that I like to leave them alone and leave them out in the summertime is because they're usually the first source of food for our pollinators, our bees and things like that. Really, really important source of food for them. So, yeah. So yeah, the dandelion is, most people, like I say, just think of it as a weed growing in their lawn. But it's fully edible and many different uses for it, and perfectly fine just to pick it and eat it. As long as you wash it off, pick it, eat it right up.